Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. We're here at Theory and Theology. We talk about some cultural topics and spirituality, religion, things along those lines. And yeah, today I finally started watching this show that I'm blanking on who told me about it, but it's Indian Matchmaking on Netflix. Now, people who know me very well, you know that I'm kind of odd when it comes to shows. Like, most things don't really catch my interest, and sometimes they do, but just the story isn't my cup of tea, or, so say, for example, Game of Thrones. This is just my opinions. This is kind of how I am with shows. Game of Thrones. Love the story. I think it's super brilliant. Even I've not read a lot of it through books, but one of my childhood besties used to read those books back when Borders was around, and they were like super thick books, and like he was always like, everybody's dying like all the time, and I was just like, because he would like tell us sometimes whenever one of the characters would die, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what kind of book is this? And like they're super thick. So we used to joke with him saying that he reads books that are like cubes because they were so thick. Like, I mean, they weren't really like that thick, they weren't like as tall as they were like wide and I don't know what is it, length with height. They weren't like equal on all sides, but they were pretty freaking thick compared to the other books we used to read. But we would just sit at Borders and like read books and stuff like for fun, because it was free and why not? And they had coffee and everything. But we would go there, read the books, like whatever kind of books. And so that's how I knew about Game of Thrones. But then fast forward to after Borders closed, everything, everyone was talking about it, and I got into the show, I think, before all the seasons ended, because there were still seasons coming out. And I think I purchased some on iTunes, and really loved the story of what I saw. It was just too intense for me. But honestly, I would force myself to watch it sometimes because I was like, this is such a good story. I kind of feel the same way about The Sopranos, even though I've seen it so many times now. It doesn't really affect me that much. It's kind of the same way I feel about 6 Feet Under. But that's a really good show too. I think Sopranos and 6 Feet Under are like two of my favorite shows. But to me, they're kind of like 6 Feet Under is pretty dark, but I still really like it. And then, I sampled House of Dragons this past, was it Monday or Sunday that it came out? Again, the gore, it's like, it's not for me. I mean, I'm talking to people all day about all sorts of things, like, I'm not trying to add more graphic content and tragedy and misery to my life, as far as like memories of stuff that I'm like consuming with my brain. But yeah, I can appreciate like a good story, and then I can appreciate a sucky show. I think I was watching on Netflix because I had some days off. There's 3 seasons of the show called Anne with an E. I thought it would, I like the story because I was a little bit like, what's gonna happen, because it wasn't too predictable, and that's one thing I love, is when things aren't like super predictable. But that's not usually the type of show I would watch. It's kind of I don't know. I kind of just wanted to see what's gonna happen in the story, but it was like every episode they're like crying about stuff and somebody's hysterical all the time. I'm like, dude, can y'all just like chill? Like, so that's just an example of the kind of stuff I watch. Like, I was like, it's only 3 seasons, so I'll watch it. So I watched it. But if it was longer than that, there's no way I would have. And there were parts where I was like fast forwarding through it, like skipping, because I was just like, they're crying again. Like, okay, like skip it. Like, so, but I don't know. I thought the characters were pretty interesting, and like, I liked that the main character was super open-minded. That's kind of what I did like, because it was opening. Like, I kind of liked seeing the contrast between like the open-minded characters and the closed-minded characters. Like with racism and all that kind of stuff, I kind of liked seeing how different people would react to like different groups of people or different people's backgrounds. That's kind of what I like the most about that show. Even though I know it's not real, I'm just saying like it was that's what I found interesting enough to like watch it all. And that it was short. Like, if it wasn't like a doable, like, short thing where I was just gonna finish it in like a week or something, then it's like, I'm not gonna watch this. So yeah, Indian Matchmaking, it's, you know, so far I think there's 2 seasons out, and usually when it's shows about dating of any kind, I've kind of like steered clear of those. Like, they tend to be pretty weird. Like, because they're not usually realistic. They're not usually like how you would normally date, right? They're weird. There's always some weird twist of like, get married first and see, like, it's like a game show type of thing. Or like, I don't know if you remember way back, like that show, was it called Love Connection, where they'd have like a pink or purple like screen. Is this even the same show that I'm thinking of? It would be on TV. I remember my parents used to watch it when I was a kid, and there would be somebody behind the screen. I don't remember if it was male or female. And there was someone else like guessing, like, I guess they were talking about each other, and then they would meet or whatever. I don't remember. This is like probably like 20 years ago or more. Like maybe 30 years ago. I don't even know. It was a long ass time ago. But yeah, I thought it was good then. Like, I kind of liked it, but I was kind of like, okay, it's like so repetitive. It's like the same thing every time, all the time. And then those shows like Bachelor and like all these kind of weird, what was that show on MTV called, like Next, where they would just like, sometimes somebody would walk in the door and they'd just be like, next, and like you don't even get to like know anything. But those were so like, it was basically the same characters every time. Like, everybody was like the same type of person. I think they went out on a date. I can't remember if that's the same one where they had the black light and they were like having gloves where they could go through people's stuff or whatever. And it's kind of interesting. I don't think they ever had anybody who had like a completely trashed and like destroyed room, from what I can recall. Like, I feel like it was pretty polished. Like, it was a good concept, but it wasn't really that interesting. And then there's the show Catfishing. I mean, I don't know if it's a real show, but I've seen it on like YouTube. It seems like it used to be a show. I mean, I know catfishing isn't the same thing as like dating, but I mean, like, you know, they would like confront the catfishing people or whatever, and like that was just weird. That show, to me, I was like, what's up with these weirdos? Like, to me, they were strange. Like, whenever they would meet the catfish, they were always some weird person, and I was always confused. I mean, I might record some about that show, because like, I was always confused. Like, why the heck don't they talk more to the catfish? Like, why didn't they ask them more in-depth questions? Like, they were just like, why did you do what you did? And like, I would be like, dude, we're like diving deep on this. Like, this is weird. Like, the stories that they go by, they're like, yeah, you led me on for like, you know, all this time, and I was like falling in love with you, or sent you all this money and all this stuff. And like, they usually don't seem to have any remorse. Like, they're like bored all the time. They're usually just like super weird. Like, one of the characters I remember was this like lady that was like laughing the whole time. Like, it was weird. Like, I was like, what the heck is up with these people? Like, I've never seen a show like that where like there's a character where you're meeting in real life, and I even question, I'm like, are these people like real, or are they like just acting like weirdos? Like, I was a little bit like, after a while I was like, I don't know, like the people making this show should maybe be a little bit concerned about the people they're meeting. Like, it seems like they're like a little odd. Like, they really seemed, I mean, for a person who talks to people on a regular basis, this was like a different level of odd. Like, it was like, it wasn't like, okay, you have like some kind of like average kind of symptom. Like, it was like, I don't know, I've never seen anything like that, like where there's just so many consistently odd people. Like, all of them were just like weird. Like, it was super like, I don't know, it was super strange to me. Like, I've never seen a show like that at all. And then, so yeah, like, yeah, there are other shows, yeah, like the 90 Day Fiance and all that kind of stuff. Like, usually I don't hate on people who watch them. A lot of people love it, obviously, but for me, it's like weird. Like, I usually find those shows weird because they're so like, it's like a game. Like, oh, we're dating, it's like a game, and like, that's a weird aspect. Kind of cool. There's like a winner, a loser, whatever, but it's like, I've never really seen a show where it was like more of like a realistic family dynamic, dating. Like, there's a little bit of depth to it, but they're not like all up in everybody's business for like shock factor. Like, there's a little bit of like, okay, that's a little bit of maybe some drama about this, or like some kind of like, you know, family scandal about this other thing, but it's not like just like, let's get all these weird scandalous people together with all their like backstory scandals and like, you know, make some dramatized like reality series. Like, it's kind of pretty my style of chill. So I've been enjoying it since today. Haven't watched that much of it. I don't think there are a whole lot of episodes because there's only 2 seasons, but I think there's only 2, but yeah, I'm trying not to spoil it, but basically, I would wonder if other people would get the same vibe as I would, as I have from it so far. Like, I just like that it's not overly dramatized. It seems realistic. Like, there are awkward moments. It's like awkward dating, but it's like it's not like your typical Hollywood, let's go on dates, let's say like the rehearsed type of line that you hear everybody say about like their issues. Like, I feel like, I don't know how to say this without it sounding weird. It's probably something I should record on in more depth, but when it comes to conditioning, programming, whatever you want to call it, I am very, like, ever since I was a kid, I was not very young, but like somewhere along the lines, when they started talking about like subliminal messages, I don't remember when this was, but when I first learned about what those were, like in like old school like advertising commercials, stuff like that kind of piqued my interest in, you know, just the whole concept of television. And so in a way, like, I really did distance myself from it. Like, I'm the least distanced from it now that I have ever been in probably like since like maybe early college at the latest, at the early, I don't know. Because I'm trying to think, there was a time I had a TV in my room and it broke eventually, and then I just stopped watching TV pretty much, other than like sports and stuff. But I haven't even been in a house where I could watch TV for like, at least since I was living in San Diego. Like, there was nowhere where I lived where I could just comfortably just go watch TV. Because you know how I am with roommates and everything. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna be sitting there watching TV with my roommates. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I used to kind of not study, but like, I used to kind of just observe, I guess I would put it that way. I really observed like like emotional responses in myself to commercials specifically. I think that's kind of where it started. Like, I started kind of noticing, like, how I would respond to something that I would see in the store that I wanted from a commercial. And, something about that bothered me, like, since I was a kid. And I don't even know what it was, but I remember I would be in the stores and I would just be like, I remember I saw this on TV and the other kids were playing with it and they looked so happy, and it was like, I would think, like, say if it was a game like Connect 4, for example, and I would be like, yeah, I remember when I saw my friends playing that game. They were playing, like, my neighbors had a game that was like this, and they were playing it, and they were brother and sister, and they were arguing, and they weren't happy when they were, like, playing this game. Like, I would kind of do that kind of in my head, like, real quick. I'd be like, like, I'd be, like, challenging a little bit, like, what I had seen, and ever since, I don't know, something about that really just bothered me once it came to commercials and then, like, news. And, once I started noticing, like, emotional responses to, like, that kind of stuff, and this is, like, throughout my, like, childhood, like, growing up, just like most people, your parents are usually watching TV and you'll usually be in the same room. They're watching TV. You're absorbing what everybody's watching. You have kids programming, parents programming, whatever. But, it really started becoming something that I started, like, believing in, as far as, that there's some kind of, like, intentional manipulation, even though it's, like, mild. It's like a form of adverts, like, just any way that they advertise, but it's just appealing to more than just oh, this is entertaining to watch. Like, it's more than just that, and I kind of caught on to that earlier, which is why I kind of have, like, a weird outlook on television. It's like, I watch it, but I'm like, I just never felt comfortable with it. But, and also, being raised in a religion where it's like, it would have been totally fine. It was, like, normal. If I don't watch TV, it's like, that's, like, fine. Like, nobody was like, oh, you're weird. Like, the church people were like, good, like, you don't watch TV because of your religion. Like, they would kind of assume that way, and so they thought it was, like, a good thing. So I never really got any, like, pushback on it, other than from people who weren't really part of church. But then also, it's kind of like, I think most people would kind of say the same thing about TV. Like, they don't really believe that it's fully, like, a pure method of just, like, presenting information without some kind of agenda. But anyways, like, so that kind of turned more into how I kind of see weird shows, different shows, like, different ways that I kind of notice things are just, like, very repetitive, like, patterns that writers choose, where it's like, you can still see, the more you binge watch a show, you can kind of see the patterns in the show. And especially when it's like these dating type of shows, you can usually see, like, the weird patterns, especially when it's like MTV stuff. But, like, you can usually see, like, the weird patterns of, like, this person does this, then that person does that, and then all the women say they want these things, all the men say they want those things. Like, you never really have, like, really authentic, like, opinions of things usually. And so what I like about this Indian matchmaking show, I like the cultural aspect of it. I don't know much about the culture, or multiple cultures that are being represented. So that's something that I'm kind of excited to see about. Like, is it accurate? I don't know. Maybe it's accurate depending, like, I don't really know. Like, I don't really know who wrote it or anything. But, it is very common for different cultures to be portrayed very stereotypically. But what's interesting is that I don't think we have a lot of stereotypes about India. I mean, yes, in America we do, but I would say, outside of knowing about like Bollywood, outside of maybe like if you follow like UK media and stuff like that, you see stuff in UK media with more like Indian characters, people from India, or just in general, like when you watch like content by like certain like racial groups of people, ethnic groups of people, you kind of see like different ethnic categories in a lot of different fields. So like work fields and things like that. I think usually that's kind of more so what's portrayed when you see people from India in mainstream American media. Usually you see the side of the education, the educational side. You don't tend to see too much about religion, too much about modern lifestyle of just like the average person, the diversity of all the different countries and cities that the people move to and live in. I think it's interesting because from what I've kind of noticed, just from observation, it seems like people from India or people of Indian descent are kind of spread out. I don't know what percentages of people live in what areas, but I do feel like they do seem very spread out as far as like living in major cities, living in rural areas, like they're all over like the US in different areas, but also it's like there isn't a lot of mainstream media representation. Like I even remember like the guy in Short Circuit, I think he was supposed to be a character from India, and the guy in Short Circuit was, and he basically he wasn't a guy from India, and kind of the same thing happened with the guy, I think, in The Social Network. They said like the guy who was supposed to play Divyan Narendra, like he's not Indian either. Like in real life, these actors aren't real life people from India. They were playing characters from India, which is odd because it's not like you can't find people from India. Like they're around, like they're not like that rare, especially in Hollywood. They're not that rare, around, like different like major cities especially, to find. And so, I don't know like immigration patterns or like birth patterns of different ethnicities, especially with people from India. I really don't know. But I do like how there is some representation of like different religions, like the Sikh religion. Like I can't think of any shows where there are Sikh characters that are represented by actual just like people that are just living their lives as whatever role they play in the family, whatever role they play, with work or education in society. I couldn't tell you much about the Sikh religion. I mean, what I do know, I saw in either a documentary or like an indie film. I think it was a film about a guy who was trying to decide like how he wanted to live his life or something. And he was around like a lot of people from his culture. I don't know what the name of that was. It was a movie. I don't know what the name of it was. I think the main character was the same guy from India that played in Ramin, is it Ramin or Ramin Bahraini's movie, Man Push Cart. I think it was that same guy. I don't freaking know what I'm talking about. But anyways, he like I really like this show. Like it's kind of made an impression on me. Almost the same way. So there's this season of Queer Eye, where they go to Japan and they have people from Japan. I'd say that this has kind of left the same impact on me as far as like a cultural representation that you don't normally see. But I just am hoping that they're being represented accurately, because I don't know. And I think that's a hard place to start. I wouldn't put it past, anybody. I mean, I don't trust these people. Y'all know how I feel about all this kind of stuff. It's like, I kind of see, I've seen what they do to my people, so and all the other ones, just like the things I just mentioned, like, you couldn't find like an Indian character to play the Indian guy, like, like it's kind of weird, like that. I mean, you are seeing more people in mainstream media as far as representation anyways. Like overall, that's definitely happening. There's definitely a push for that. But I don't know how accurate the religious representations are. I'd like to learn about that. Also with like, cultural patterns of who says what, who does what. Like, is it normal for people to meet with the families? Like some different family members on the male side, on the female side, is that normal? The way that they talk about it, is it normal? Is it normal for, like with one character, like, is it normal for like a parent to be pushing that much, to be like, yo, you got like a year, like you need to like figure this out, like during this year or less, or like pressuring like, okay, you like these few people, let's just, try to choose one of them out of all these people, like, is that like accurate, or is that, I'm pretty sure that there's probably a version of every type of parent role, or every type of child role. I'm worried that they're gonna screw up another culture. But I just would like to know too, so it's something I might put my mind to a little bit, to try to figure out more about the different cultural things. But also it's like so distant from what I usually know, from what I'm usually studying, that I'm not very super comfortable, like as far as like, I'm not super comfortable with like finding information maybe after being exposed to things from like a show. Like I feel like it's kind of like gonna give me like a bias of some form. I mean, I know a lot of people from India, but yeah, like I'm trying to think. I don't know anyone who's used a matchmaker that I know of, and I actually wonder how they would differ from like maybe like the Jewish process of like when Orthodox Jews, the people who try to set people up, and that whole process with the what's it called, a shidduch, like that's the kind of date. Like I'm wondering how it might be similar, different. It's kind of interesting. Like I'm curious about that, but I'm curious to see where this show's gonna go. I like it. I mean, it's chill, it's calm. I love seeing different people talk to each other, and you know, their own kind of like natural style. Like, it's kind of cool to see people like invite people into their homes. Like, I feel like I've never seen a show that's so like not, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's staged to some extent, but I've never seen a show that doesn't feel as stagey, you know? Like, it doesn't seem like everything is like a set. Like, they're actually in people's homes, in their living rooms. Like, I'm wondering, are these the real homes? And where they're sitting in the kitchen or the living room areas or whatever, dining areas, whatever kind of areas, like for like, you know, common areas where people can sit and talk. And then sometimes it shows like something I do like that it shows too, which is interesting, is like different like adult age people living with their family or parents. That's something you don't tend to see in a lot of mainstream American media shows. And it's interesting because this is being filmed, at least it seems like, majority in the US. Some of it, I think some of it's in India and some places, but I think the majority of it is in the US. I think they mentioned Dallas and like, I don't remember where else they were filming, but I know San Diego was in there. And so, you know, I'm wondering kind of like the accuracy points on some of this stuff. I mean, I'm excited. I'm pumped up about the show. Like, I don't know. This is the kind of stuff that kind of like, you know, I get like bored with like all the other stuff, and then I see a show that just seems like some simple little thing. You would think most people would be like, there's not enough drama. There's not enough, you know, explosions, and there's not enough like effects, you know. And I'm just like, dude, give me the boring thing that seems the most realistic thing as possible, and let me learn from it. Like, the thing is, I love documentaries, but I have to be like in the mood for one. So I do kind of like reality shows when it seems a little bit more realistic. I could be totally wrong. They could be completely acting, but I just don't feel like they're acting. I get a vibe that they're not really acting, and if they are, then they're really good actors because they really seem like they're just like authentically, like they seem like maybe they're comfortable enough with the camera. Like, it's not like a complete like candid camera kind of situation where you're just like, you know, like behind the scenes kind of thing. But it's pretty cool. I'm happy to see that something like this exists. I've seen it popping up a lot, but I just haven't clicked on it. And somebody was telling me recently about some intense thing that they were watching, and they're the ones who told me that when they're not watching, I can't talk. When they're not watching the intense stuff, they're watching this other Indian matchmaking show. And I was just like, that doesn't seem like something I want to watch. But yeah, when I clicked on it, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, you know, like, I kind of like, you know, hearing how, like, parents and adult children talk to each other. Because usually you don't see that dynamic a lot. You usually don't tend to see in mainstream American media people in their late 20s, 30s, or 40s, you know, interacting with their parents on, like, such a regular basis. Usually it's like they have their lives, they live way over there, they see each other at Christmas or whatever. Like, I'm not used to seeing people who are like involved in each other's lives on a regular basis like that. So it's kind of interesting, and especially because, like, you know, being raised by, you know, a lot of Africans and being raised by, you know, a lot of Adventist types, it's like I was raised around people who definitely, you know, they never want you to really move, and, you know, it's very family oriented, church family oriented, community oriented. Usually you don't see that, you know, in a lot of in a lot of mainstream TV, the cultures that are represented, usually you're not seeing that. And so it's kind of nice to see like some complete different, you know, dynamics that we don't really get to see. I just, you know, I don't want to be clouded by like the novelty of it. That's not like completely new for me, but I'm just saying it's like a glimpse that you don't usually get to see. like on that level. Like I've talked to my friends, that are from India, and I kind of hear about their like family dynamics and stuff, but um I'm not like involved in it too much. But I do think it's kind of nice to see like families kind of getting along, and I'm not saying it's perfect or whatever, like I don't really know, but it's like it is kind of nice to see people having long open discussions with one another, and it's not some blowout argument where somebody's flipping out and like throwing things and cursing, and you just hear like they're bleeping out every single thing. Like like you can tell even when people don't agree or might get upset with one another a little bit, like they kind of just take it as okay, like we're just gonna agree to disagree, like we have differences on this, but it's not like we're not gonna eat dinner in a couple hours, or it's not like we're not gonna keep seeing each other. Like they keep it civil, and usually I feel like shows tend, not this show, but I feel like shows in general tend to want to highlight like all the drama. Like if you think about most of show the reality shows of any type, usually what you would see is like on the coming up next clip, like whenever they do that before maybe like an ad break or something, they'll do like like coming up next, or after the break, and then they show you like who's screaming at who or who said what, and like dun dun dun, there's some big like scandal coming up soon, or like you hear profanity being bleeped out, or something breaking and shattering and people gasping in the background, like like what happened, like it kind of captures your attention about something coming up next, and captures your attention in like a dramatic way. I like that the show's not really so much like that. Like that there's not really like a flair to it. It's more like I'm more attracted to the authenticity, even though I know it's entertainment, and I know it's Netflix, and I know it's not like 100% like accurate, like live recorded vlogging, but it's like almost about as close as you're gonna get. I like the communication styles a lot. I like how people are respectful of one another. I like how you're not, I don't know, like working in the psych field, I feel like whenever I see shows, it's like I start to wonder. I'm like, where do they find these people? you know, like shows like The Real World and stuff like that. It's like, where do they find all these people? Like, they just want drama, or even like The Real L Word. Like, I'm pretty sure they pay people for the extra drama. Like, I think they say in those types of shows, like sex scenes or like brief nudity gets like a certain amount of extra money for the reality actors or whatever. Like, they kind of exploit them a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if that's what I heard, but I think that's what they said. I think. I mean, somebody tell me if I'm wrong. I think that's what they said about The Real L Word. The LA or New York or whichever one. It's old now. It's not like something new, but those types of shows, like, usually, they do kind of have like a lot of like sex scenes and all kind of like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sex scenes. I'm just saying, like, like usually when people know they're on camera, they're not going to be like banging each other like in the middle of the party. It's like they do a lot of this stuff to just capture attention. Of course, it's like, of course you're going to have a bunch of lesbians in a show. Of course you're going to have them screwing each other. Like, that's what the population wants to see. Like, it doesn't matter if they're gay or not. Like, they're trying to attract like straight males to watch it. Like, they're trying to like capture every demographic. Like, they could have easily made the real L Word about like a bunch of unattractive, not implying that old people are unattractive, but I'm just saying they could have made it about old, like, people that are like 65-year-old, like senior age, like lesbians, living in Palm Springs and like going to like stretching, in the morning or something. Like instead they choose like younger demographics that are kind of like sexier looking, and like the LA is lesbian types, and like, they flash it up a little bit. Like they're not going to choose like geriatric, age. I don't know. Like that's offensive. I know it's offensive to say that, but I'm just saying, like, they're not, they are trying to appeal to something. And usually when I'm watching shows, I'm very careful of that, because I'm like, I know what you're trying to do. I know how you're trying to get me to think. And so it's kind of weird to me when I see a show where I'm just like a little bit like, like this doesn't have that vibe as much. Like it does, of course it's there, but it's not like, it's not doing it in a way that's making it like flashy for you to want to like get captivated by the drama. It's like, I'm really rooting for these people. I'm like, oh, I want them to get married. I hope this person, like, they're nice characters. Like, I'm like, wow, they just seem like cool people. Like, I want all of them to just get married. Like, and sometimes you see them on the dates and you're like, oh, like, I hope this couple gets married, or like they seem so happy together. Like it's rare to see a show where, you're actually happy. Like that show's like a happy show. I'm like, I really like this, like I haven't seen a show like that in a really freaking long time. And that is really sad to say. Like there aren't really shows out there that are like really like there to just kind of like make you smile. And like, I mean, there's comedy, there's stand up. I do watch a lot of podcasts that are, with comedians in them, or like funny kind of vlogs and stuff like that. And I do watch stand-up comedy, and I do watch like those kind of like funny sitcoms that are just like silly. But yeah, I hardly see a show that's not like that doesn't make me smile because it's comedy. Usually it's like, if I want something to kind of like, not necessarily make me in a good mood or put me in a good mood, but something that is, I'm just going to be naturally smiling just because of the concepts. Usually I have to go towards comedy. There's not really any other field, any other type of show that I'm used to tuning into that makes me smile. Other than sports, sometimes it's a little fun when they just like have like a cool goal, or like a cool like move like in the sport where you're like, whoa, that was pretty fancy. Like that's kind of cool. Like I like seeing like athleticism and like kind of like cool tricks that athletes do every so often. Like, like that's kind of awesome. But it's not like that's every single game, and it's not like all the time. Like they're not meant to like be showing off the whole time. Like they're trying to win the game. They're not trying to look like the Harlem Globetrotters. But yeah, like, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I think that's all I can say without really spoiling it. I feel like I've said a lot, but a lot of it I'm trying to like expand in different directions. But let me see if I can find that freaking show. Let me see if I can find. So what I'm doing now, I'm on my phone looking up, or attempting to look up a show, a movie about a Sikh guy. I don't know. Can you guys hear me typing when I'm on my phone? Is this what it's called? I don't know. Indian German drama. I don't remember watching an Indian German drama. I might never find this title to this movie. I really want to find it. Was it German? There's no way. I don't know. This dad looks familiar, though. Maybe this was it. No. Okay, let me see. Give me a second. I am reading. Umber Singh. Dude, what was it called? It's not Gogol or whatever. Like, there was a movie about this guy, Gogol. It's not that one. I really don't know. I really don't know. Now it's bothering me that I can't find it. Because I haven't really, like, watched that many movies where I would think it would be this hard to find. I mean, geez. And I'm pretty sure I probably watched it on, like, Netflix. But, let me see. Because I was thinking the guy from Man Push Cart was in it. He plays a Pakistani rock star. Man. Ahmad Razvi. I don't know if he was the character then. I don't know, guys. I might never find this. Cause I don't know what it was called. Jeez. Now I wonder if I'm ever gonna find it. I wonder if I'm ever going to freaking find this movie. This is gonna bother the heck out of me. I don't even know. But I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter too much as far as what the movie was. I'm just saying that was one of the first or only movies I've watched. It was kind of like pretty mainstream just because it was on Netflix and it had Sikh representation, but I don't know. Alright, well, when I clicked on Netflix, my sound cut off on this app for recording the podcast, so I took the time to find the actual movie. So it's called Ocean of Pearls. According to Wikipedia, is a movie released in 2008. So let's see. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says Dr. Amrit Singh, a young Sikh surgeon, moves from Toronto to Detroit to take a position at a new transplant facility. And basically it talks about, pressures to assimilate, discrimination he faces, and all different sorts of stuff like that. His experiences being back around, his family, his religion, and then it says reflects on the experiences of Sikhs in America post 9/11. So it was I found it to be a really good movie. Let me see. Starring Omid Abtahi, Heather McComb, Ron Canada, and Navi Rawat. And the producer is Sarab Singh Neelam. So yeah, very good. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I was totally wrong on the characters and every single thing, pretty much. Um, but I'm glad to have found the name of this movie because that was really gonna drive me up the wall if I couldn't figure it out. I don't know what I even searched to get here, but it doesn't matter anymore. Um, but yeah, I would recommend that movie. I liked it a lot. I thought it was a really well made movie. You guys know me. Anything that has to do with like culture and religion, I'm usually gonna be down to watch the movie. Um, but yeah, I really like it, and I really like, having different cultures, different religions represented in series. Because I'm sick of seeing the same thing. Like I think entertainment can also be educational. We can also learn, but then I know, there's definitely the caution to like, this is entertainment, it's here to keep us like captivated and, but I do like to think, I like to watch things and think about them, I don't want to just be like force fed information and take it all as, oh, this is 100% true, accurate. This is exactly how things should be. Like, I don't believe that at all. Um, but I might actually go back and rewatch Ocean of Pearls because I really like that movie. I remember. But yeah, I didn't intend this to be this long. I'm in a rambly mood, so let's ramble. But I should say let's get ready to ramble. Um, but yeah, all right. I'm gonna go do something else now. So this is getting too long for me. But all right, with that, thanks for listening.